Well, hello everyone. This is Aurea McGarry, your host of Get Celebritized, where I bring on the most amazing guests that have thriver stories, or they have reached a pinnacle of success, and they're willing to come on this show and tell you the nuts and bolts. Not just, oh, I went from here to there, and it's all real pretty and packaged in a bow. It's more of, this happened to me, this could have derailed me, this is why, this is what went wrong, and this is what went right. This is the details, not just I met somebody and, everything else was peachy keen. It's how all those steps came to fruition. So you all that are listening or watching can earn more money, live a bigger, better life, and give back to your favorite charities and causes because you have that balance in your life of earning more, living more, and giving more. So let me bring on my guest today because she is one of my fellow TEDx speakers. When I spoke on the TEDx stage, there she was. And we became fast friends. And she is none other than Brielle Cotterman. She's a TEDx speaker. She's a domestic violence survivor. Wait till you hear what happened to her. And she's a publicity expert. And guess what? She's a celebrity maker. Go figure, a perfect fit. Come on down, Brielle. We're going to want to talk to you. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi, beautiful.
How are you? I'm so excited to be here with you. Thanks so much for having me.
It's so funny, Brad. We were just talking when we first came on camera that we look like sisters. We're both in the same color, both our blonde hair. And we're like, I haven't worn cobalt blue in months. And there you are picking it out. We're on the same page. We got the synergy going today.
That is right.
So fun. It was such a pleasure to meet you at the TEDx stage we did here in Dupree Park in the Atlanta area. And we just meet somebody, it just sparks fly and there's synergy. You're really not sure why, but you need that person in your life and it's mutual. And that's kind of what happened to us. And it's been
absolutely
a couple of months, but we were determined to do something together. So first step, Brielle, I'm so glad you could be here on the show because your TEDx talk kind of brings it all in a nutshell when you were talking about the bullet-ridden room that you were in. So I'm going to let you start there, a little bit about that, because both you and I truly believe that businesses need to lead with a story because people want to do business with people they know a little more about, whether they connect on a level like that or just because you're an animal lover or an equestrian or, an artist. There's things people connect with business owners on that aren't necessarily the product of their service. So, Brielle, tell us a little bit about that amazing story you told on the TEDx stage.
So I am a survivor of attempted murder and domestic violence. It's one of those stories, and I share this in my talk, Aurea, that I hid behind for many years. I am a successful person. I am well educated. I am accomplished. And so to me, that was not something that ever went hand in hand with domestic violence. And that's because I believe our media just does a really poor job of explaining and showing the realities of domestic violence. And the reality is it does not discriminate. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic background is. It doesn't matter your heritage. None of those things matter. And so I spent so many years feeling bad about myself, feeling bad about that story. And it wasn't until I was brave enough to start sharing that story that I had a major shift in my business. I felt freedom for the first time in my life after having experienced domestic violence. And I really shifted my focus. So I help entrepreneurs with a cause. So not just people who want to be famous walking down the street, but people who want to change the world and make it a better place. And that really caused a massive shift for me. My business quadrupled in size in less than 6 months once I started sharing my story. Wow. And, in my TED Talk, I talk a little bit more about the details and what went on during that experience. But it's really the mindset of how we choose to handle it afterwards. And sharing those stories, not only with someone that you can help, but first and foremost, sharing those stories with someone who can help you.
And Brielle, it still boggles my mind. You know, I'm a domestic violence survivor as well. And the outside world who haven't walked through our shoes, you know, they ask different questions that they don't understand, and it's perfectly fine because we want them to. But I remember I was on many radio shows, and the same topic was, why do women stay?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You're saying now you were didn't want to share your story. You were felt bad about your story. Like somehow your story is your fault. Tell us real quick what that story is, because I know it's in your TEDx talk. But when I was listening to it, and I thought I've heard it all, it's like, how did you get in that situation you're about to tell us? And then nobody truly understands, except for women like you and I, Brielle, that have been through it. Because there's so many different reasons why women can't get out. It's not that they don't want to. So many layers of that. But tell us real quick how you ended up in a bullet-ridden room.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so here's the thing. Statistically, so many women and more, especially since COVID and isolation and lockdown, are experiencing and have experienced domestic violence. So the best way is and this is always my recommendation, if something feels off, even if it's not physical, it probably is. So that's just always a good rule of thumb. If something feels off, it probably is. And so ask for help.
Definitely.
I was in a situation where I tried to leave, Aurea, and I didn't do it well. I didn't plan ahead. I didn't ask for help. And when I had filed for divorce, my husband became more violent and controlling at the time. And I was in a position where I nearly lost my life. There was a gun held to my head and the trigger was pulled, and it is simply by the grace of God that I am sitting here today. It was a miraculous misfire. There was no logical reason for that. And I was able to escape through a door that was then riddled with bullet holes. And there, like I said, there was absolutely no logical reason for that gun to have misfired the moment that it was held to my temple. But I thank God every day that I have the opportunity to be here and make a difference and live my life with my children.
Wow. And your story, when I was listening to it again this morning, you were saying how you escaped to the room and then it was riddled with bullets, and how many bullets were shot, because he missed you then as well. And then he took his own life. So that must have just, what was going through your mind when these bullets were coming through this room and none of them hit you? Were you
No,
hiding?
I was able to escape out a window, and afterwards, I think that there were a total of 9 bullet holes that went, in the door to that small room, a very small room.
Wow.
And it's a story that is a part of what I've experienced, but it doesn't define me.
No, but you said something very, very poignant in your talk too, that it's not just us that need to have that story. So we have that experience. There's people out there that need us to tell our story because they needed to help them through their healing. And I've always believed that. And that's why I accepted the TEDx stage when they sought me out to tell my story, because I didn't even think I was a TEDx type speaker, because I'm an inspirational speaker. I don't have this new thought leader idea. I'm not a NASA. You always think you have to have this big new idea. But you and I's story were so similar that there's somebody out there needs to know that we made it through, and so can you. There's somebody out there that needs to know this can make a difference in your business, in your life. And if we save one life, if we give one woman courage to know, gosh, I can get out too, I need to reach out to somebody, then it was worth every minute of us going through it and living through it.
Absolutely. And, it's tragic, the number of people who experience abuse. But beyond abuse, there is mental health issues, people losing jobs. There's statistically all of these different things that we think about and we view as stigmas, things that we don't want to claim about ourselves. But the reality is, part of the human experience is challenges. Part of the human experience is dealing with very difficult situations. And so the longer that we pretend like everything is shiny, happy, fancy, and fine on the outside, then the harder it becomes to help other people, because there's no real conversation taking place. We don't have any feel for the realities that different people are facing day to day. And the truth of the matter is, when we do share our stories, what it does is it gives permission, it gives those other people permission to accept their own stories.
And it still boggles my mind that for anything that we're feeling, like whether we're going through depression or mental anxiety or stress or domestic violence, that somehow every one of us, like human nature, to feel bad about it, like there's something wrong with us. And it is, I love when you say it's part of the human condition. And in my older age now, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing there isn't anybody out there that doesn't have some stress and some mental anxiety and some, not want to even say quirks, but things they're afraid of, things that bother them, things that get them depressed and may not get somebody else depressed. And it's okay. It's the human condition. We wouldn't be in this world together and be part of humanity because nobody has a picture perfect Instagram feed life. That's all fake. I mean, yes, everybody has good days. You have good days. Your makeup looks good. And you're having fun. But in reality, any moment right after that perfect picture was taken, something could have gone wrong and probably does. We don't want on anybody, but all of us go through it. And we need to be there for each other and say, it's okay. Nothing wrong with being depressed. Nothing wrong with being depressed for many years, not being able to get out of it because there's help out there. And COVID really brought that to the world's attention because you said something like you're more apt to get into a car accident than something. What was that stat? It blew my mind.
Which stat? I'm sorry.
You're the stat that you said you're more likely to have mental depression or some kind of mental anxiety than you are to get into a car accident. To get the flu.
Yeah. So I mean, there's all of these comparisons, Aurea. It's so. Here's the thing. It wasn't until I started sharing my story that all of these people in my world started coming forward and sharing, their own experiences or their own challenges. And so that's why it's so silly that we allow these sorts of stories and to have stigmas. And, that's what I say. That concept is ripe for disruption. Conversation topics that make people uncomfortable, conversation topics that are maybe not considered professional. That's ripe for disruption. That concept is ripe for disruption. How are we ever supposed to create positive social change and have a feeling and an understanding of what other people are experiencing and be able to feel empathy and understanding and create positive improvement if we don't know? And we don't know if we hide behind these stories and we're ashamed of them and we stuff them down inside. And it creates this really horrific duality, this level of uncomfort with the story that you're living on the inside. And then, like I said, that shiny veneer on the outside where you say everything's fine.
Yeah. And it's funny because on the other hand, us as humans, we love to know the story because just look at the Olympics. We now love the Olympics even more because they tell us the story right before that sprinter goes. They're finding and capturing these stories and they show them. They show reels. You can tell it's beautifully curated. They've been in their home. They show the struggle to that moment, that 60 seconds or that 3 minutes of their life at the Olympics. We're not just watching the Olympics and it's all just generic people. The ones we're really rooting for, the ones they're telling the story and how they came from nothing or how this could have gotten derailed. And think of like American Idol, same thing. And America's Got Talent. All the talent shows now have really curated the stories, the backstory, and these B-rolls you see before you watch them sing or watch them do a tightrope. Because now we care about them even more. So you're in the business of celebritizing people and celebritizing businesses. Tell me now and tell our viewers and listeners how this can make a difference in their life as they want to gain more clients, gain more customers, maybe not have all of their story on their sleeve, but tell us about how this works.
So the one thing that I think is the most important thing to remember, that you don't have to share all of the details of your story in order for your story to make an impact. You don't. It is very important for people to feel safe and confident and comfortable sharing their stories, especially stories that, like we talked about, maybe are stigmatized or have been stigmatized previously in our culture. And so it's very important for everyone who's listening, when they are thinking about their personal brand, and we no longer have the luxury of not thinking about our personal brands, especially when we have a business or we are a person who is in the public eye for any reason. So those stories, we have a collection of 3 that we teach to our clients, and we have a full service PR agency. And when we are pitching the media, the thing that people always seem to forget is that media decision makers are people. And as a human being, we create connection through stories. We have been teaching through stories since the beginning of time. That's why the hieroglyphics are sketched into the caves.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, and so it's when we create connection through story, we also want to tell stories in our business space or in our personal branding that inspire action. And so for us,
Yeah.
we teach a profitable storytelling format where there are 3 steps, 3 pieces to every single story. And it's really important to tell a full story. And that's what I see so often is, one, people feel fearful that they have to share all of, sort of air their dirty laundry. And that's not at all the case. We want people to understand your why. If you think of, Simon Sinek made the concept of the why very, very famous. And so if you're able to share anything, any fact or statistic or information wrapped in a story, it's 70 times more likely to be remembered.
What did you just call it a few seconds ago? It caught my attention. You said it's a profitable something story.
We practice the profitable storytelling format.
I
Mhm.
love that.
Thank you.
Profitable storytelling format, because again, people just don't want to be blurting it out with no strategy. So because your viewers are just going to think of it as a story, or your Instagram feed or your TikTok, whatever you're using, LinkedIn, instead of seeing that it has a reason why you told that piece today, a reason why
Absolutely.
you're letting your viewers or your fans know about this hardship, instead of it being, oh, I'm sorry for you, or oh gosh, that's too bad, or wow, that's really great, you came out of that, okay, and they keep on scrolling, because we know we have to stop the scroll. And so if we stop that Instagram or TikTok or social media scroll for them to see a piece of your story, it has to have purpose, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And you are a master at that. And I totally encourage everybody that's in business that they really want to increase their following, increase their profitability, gain more ideal clients, people that have the pain that you solve. Then Brielle, you are such the agency to do this. So tell us a little bit more about it, what it looks like if somebody's listening or watching us saying, what would this look like for me? What's my first step? How do I, I'm not famous, or I'm just a mompreneur. Tell us what you're looking for and how they can take their first step.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things to remember, Aurea. One is you don't have to have a story that's filled with drama or trauma, or have one of those sell everything and move to Bali tales in order to make a positive
I
impact.
never moved to Bali. Wait, I missed that step.
And so that's the thing that people often, they get caught up and they think, well, I've never really done anything in my life outside of my business or outside of my family that is that drama trauma moment. Stories don't have to mirror mine. Stories don't have to mirror yours. They can be really inspiring and incredibly impactful by just being a phenomenal story of success, or a phenomenal story of overcoming any sort of challenge. And the beautiful thing about our profitable storytelling format is, when we share our challenge, no matter what it is, because every story should have that climax moment, that moment of major transformation.
Yeah.
When we share that challenge, my challenge is going to be different than yours. But when we're doing it properly, what we're doing is we're creating connection. And so then our audience feels, oh, Aurea gets me. I knew she understood me. She's been through something as well. And then when we share that final piece, or the rise of our main character, of us, when we're sharing for our personal brand or through our business, then we inspire action. And that's the most important piece, because we've got to tell a full story. And it's just, I love what you said, when people are sharing, a lot of times it's just aimlessly sharing. There's so many words, there's so many things brought into the story that really don't have any impact. They're not going to create connection. They're not going to inspire action. And so being really thoughtful, that is, with our proprietary process of the profitable storytelling format, it's teaching people how to understand and break down what is your why, and then how to tell it in a way that creates connection and inspires action. And that's the foundational work of everything that we do. So whether we are rewriting media bios, or creating media kits, or, we're creating a full strategy of how to create a media campaign that's going to be able to be leveraged to bring in more credibility, more clients.
Mhm.
Story is at the heart of that. And so that's the piece that I find myself being so frustrated. I see a lot of people being marketed to about publicity, how to pitch publicity, how to, pitch basically.
Yeah. And then again, they get on, and I've seen this for the last 10 years being in the industry, is people get on these shows, and this is what I'm starting to
And
teach
they're
too.
not prepared.
No, they're either not prepared or there's no call to action, and they
Right.
do all this for fun and fame, so-called fame, but then nobody's buying because they didn't connect the dots. So they're doing all these fun things. I've been on the news. I've been on this. Look at me. I'm on this show. I'm on this podcast. And it's like, okay, great. But then if you look at their bottom dollar, did they gain any new clients? And if that's not the goal, then that's fine. If they just want to have fun and do that.
But
fine.
when is that ever not the goal for
I know.
for business owners, for
I know.
leaders, for entrepreneurs? So here's the thing. I have been in the PR space for more than a decade, but prior to that, I was in very high level sales and marketing. And so, Aurea, when I decided I was going to go out and start my own PR firm, I wanted to do something totally different. I did not desire to repeat the model of a traditional PR firm, because what happens is people end up upset or ticked off with their PR firm because of exactly what you just shared. We have expectations, and those expectations are either unexpressed or unfulfilled. The expectation being, when I get on television, I'm going to have an influx of clients. When I share my story in Forbes, then I'm going to have an influx of opportunity. And if that doesn't happen, then people end up upset. Well, so here's the thing. A traditional PR firm's job is to literally pitch you for media. And just like I said, people being marketed to about pitching the media, that's just one tiny sliver.
Right. Now
that's one tiny piece. So yes, you get the opportunity, but then what? You've got to be prepared. You've got to be able to tell your story. You've got to know what that call to action is. You've got to tell a story that inspires action. And then once you inspire action, then what? What's that action? How's the client journey look? So we go from start
Very
to
important.
finish.
You just said, Brielle, the client journey. You've got to have a client journey again, because they could call you. Now what? And if you get an influx, which is your it seems like your job, Brielle, that you're doing so well. And what would you do if 100 new clients came to you today? Is what these business owners need to know. Can you handle them? Can you process them? What is the customer journey? I didn't mean to interrupt, but that is such a vital.
No. But so see, that's the thing. And you understand this completely. So our business looks more like a hybrid, a marketing firm, a PR agency, and an executive level finishing school. So it's start to finish. You've got to be ready. You've got to be trained. You've got to know the stories to tell, because it doesn't matter how great of a speaker you are. If you go onto a television segment and your television segment goes from 5 minutes and it gets cut down to 2 minutes because there's breaking news, you've got to be able to think on the fly, and you've got to be able to tell your story in that amount of time in a way that inspires action. So we start with a full audit. We look at everything. We look at start to finish. What does your social media look like? What does your website look like? Where are we directing people? Because what good is it going to do if we get you onto an incredible podcast where it's fully niched and all the people who are listening are your dream clients, if when you're there, you don't have a really easy way for those people to take one step closer to you?
Amen. So important. All right. So now I'm going to ask the $1 million question, and you can answer a little or a lot, or give us a piece of it, because a lot of my fans, a lot of people that chime into me and my clients are women in business. My passion's always been women, and I just seem to attract them. So it seems to be my base. And also, and that is mompreneurs. Now, unfortunately, the stigmatism is a mompreneur isn't a boss woman CEO of a 6-figure business, and they're really good. I just call them mompreneurs because we're battling being a mom and being an entrepreneur and CEO. So we get each other. We know what it's like to be working, and if the school calls and our child needs us, we're dropping what we need.
Or the thousands of emails that we get from the school on top of the work emails.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean we can't be 6, 7, and 8 and 9-figure income earners, CEO, boss babes that we are. So here's my question now. They're listening and saying, this sounds great. what does it look like? Because this sounds like also they might be thinking, all right, well, this sounds great for big companies and big businesses that can afford this. Is this affordable for an entrepreneur CEO that maybe just be making maybe six figures or wants to get to the six figures? Maybe they're close, they're already established, but they're missing some pieces, but they have a budget to invest in this. They're ready for it, but they totally need your finishing school and they need the press. What kind of, what's their first step? And is this, I don't want to say affordable because that's a relative question. Affordable to one is not affordable to another. So talk to us a little bit about the price and how this journey would work to connect with you.
Yeah. So I love that you asked this question because here's the thing. PR, when I was growing up, publicity was so different. It was like you said, it was reserved for those Coca-Colas and Nike and, you know, those sorts of big, massive brands. And that's no longer the case. And I think that that is one of the pieces that people get wrong. They get confused about. They see publicity as something I achieve once I've reached this level. And what I'm asking people to do is think about this differently. Publicity, earned media, earned press is the gold star when it comes to credibility. So think of media and press as this incredibly powerful marketing tool that allows you to have third-party verification. And it gives you that credibility and authority, and it allows you to leverage that to create that level of success that you're hoping to get to. So for, you know, I myself am a mom. I have a 2-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And, you know, and the story that we told earlier, you know, that was something that happened more than 10 years ago in my life. And so I'm very happily remarried for the last 3 years to the love of my life.
Congratulations. You deserve it.
Thank you. And I understand fully what it's like as a mom, a wife or a significant other, and an entrepreneur, and all the other titles and hats that we wear, and all the different ways that we're pulled in a million different directions. And one of the things that I love about the work that we do is we help people we help men and women, but we do work primarily with women, and we help people who are experts to become that household name, to become the niche expert, the go-to person in that space. And that requires that third-party credibility, because when you think about marketing, when you're marketing your own words and you're advertising yourself, that's lovely. You want to talk to your credibility. You want to talk to all of those things, but that does not compare or compete with Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, any of those places giving you a feature, giving you the opportunity to be featured on their pages, because guess what? They could have chosen anyone. And as far as a cost perspective, I do want to share this. There's 2 really awesome statistics about our work that we do. One, we have an incredible post-publicity strategy. So what do you do in order to give your media life long after it goes live? To use it as that tool, to use it, and use it as an SEO tool, as a marketing tool, all of these different pieces, a reason for your prospects to say yes. And so we've got this really phenomenal statistic where our post-publicity strategy creates an uptick in booked sales calls around 20%.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. And then the other piece is we have multiple clients who have utilized our media, our positioning, and updated our, you know, based on our strategic recommendations, their personal branding and positioning. And they've been able to pay for our services based on one month's worth of publicity for their entire contract. Because it's really vital. You can sit there and say how fabulous you are and the work that you are doing is all day long. But when, like I said, when that third party says it, it's a whole different ball game. And one of the other pieces too about our expense, you know, a lot of big PR firms on the East Coast and the West Coast are 25, 50 and up to 650. Did I lose you?
Yeah, I lost you. We'll backtrack. That's okay.
Okay.
So you were talking about 50 and 60. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of these massive PR firms, you know, on the coast are 50, 60, 100K a month retainers, you know, all of these massive numbers. And what the part of the reason why I created this agency is because I have seen too many women and too many incredible people be passed over for opportunities that they deserve simply because they couldn't afford that big retainer. We do not have a commercial building. We have a location in Nashville. We have a location in Kentucky. That's our home base. We live on a horse farm here. And here's the thing, we have been remote long before COVID. And so we don't have that commercial building fee. You know, a lot of big agencies have the big fancy buildings and everything. They're beautiful and amazing. But my heart lies in giving women and men who deserve the opportunity, and all people who deserve the opportunity to step onto the world stage, that chance. And that doesn't mean charging $50,000 a month for massive retainers.
So you're saying it's affordable for the entrepreneur to call you to take the first step.
Yeah, and we have different programs. You know, we have one-on-one clients, and of course, that's a higher tier where those are our clients that we're working with on an ongoing basis. A lot of those contracts are a year long, especially if we're launching a book or, you know, doing any of those, launching a program. But we also have like local celebrity packages for people who are in-person service providers who need to be working to increase their credibility and notoriety in their local area. And we also have power publicity sprints that we'll do every now and then, where we offer like a 3 to 6 month offer. So, you know, when you look at the ROI and you look at the opportunity to grow your business and expand your credibility and authority, there's really nothing that you can invest in that makes as much sense as a strategically positioned publicity campaign.
So true. And I love that you have a post, because and I've worked with publicists for many, many years, since I think back in 2007. And I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I've seen the cost. I've seen the no results, and I've seen results. I did have one many years ago that gave me results. And I love that you have a post publicity program, because that's so important. Because again, entrepreneurs can get so caught up and they've done it all, and they sit there and they wait for the phone to ring, and 3 months, 6 months goes by, and like, well, I didn't get anything from that, it didn't work. And then that's your reputation on stand there, because not that it didn't work, but people would be out there saying that, oh, publicity didn't work for me, or this agency didn't work for me, because there was no post-production, no follow-up. Again, your customer journey includes the post. And I think that's brilliant, because that is so impeccably important to the rave reviews, to people being happy, to delivering what at least you told them their expectation could be, which I know publicists can't guarantee forms or anything, but you can guarantee after you look at them, this is where I see your journey going. This is what I see we could do for you. And we guarantee you this post work for you to get the most out of it. So
for sure, there's nothing that breaks my heart anymore than when I see somebody who gets a media opportunity and the first thing they do is just slap the link into their social media. Because guess what? People may like that post, but they're not going to take the time to actually go there and read the article or watch the podcast interview or watch the television interview. And what we want to do is we really want to help warm people up for the message that you're sharing. We want to keep them engaged. We want to give them a reason to click in there and watch that interview and fall even more in love with you. And it's just a really easy reason for them to say yes.
You know, and what you were talking about before about the third party credibility, you know, my clients, I teach them all the time, you know, to get celebritized. And it does matter that you have, whether it's a PhD, a master's degree, an award, your best-selling realtor in your city. These things matter. Why do people put these on commercials? Why do you see the stamp of, we have a county here, it's called the Best of Forsyth. And if you win that, it's all over their doors, at the cleaners, at the print shop, at the restaurants, best of. Why do we put, you know, the health department, what the rating is, the A, the B, the C? Because those little things matter when you're making a buying decision, that as a business owner you may, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter if you have a B at the health department rating in your restaurant and your neighbor over here that sells food or whatever gets an A+. That matters, because I'm hungry. I could do either way. You got a B. I'm not really sure what's going on in there. This one's got an A. So it's so important to get credentials, credibility, awards. You know, just like so many people now, Brielle, want the TEDx stage. It matters when you're going to do something. Wow, this one got accepted into a TEDx stage. That means somebody's already done their due diligence. Now, I don't have to be so diligent, because if they made the TEDx stage, they've been through some rigorous, you know, background checks and balances to be there. That's exactly what I think business owners need, whether it's not doesn't have to be TEDx, but Forbes, American Express magazines, entrepreneur magazines, anything. And you even mentioned local news. Local morning TV is one of my favorites. It can do wonders for you locally, which is so important. So it does matter when somebody says stamp of approval.
Absolutely.
Even for the
Yes.
nonprofits that I support. When the nonprofits fundraiser or feeding the homeless is in the news, people see that. Oh, CBS was out there, ABC, NBC. That means that they looked at that and they thought it high enough to go cover that story. They have a million stories they could cover, but they chose that one. So as we close up, Brielle, I want you to have a moment to say, if somebody's listening, I know so many people will. This is my demographics. My audience will be listening to this, and I will be repurposing this because it's so important to become the go-to celebrity in your industry, to create credibility, visibility, and profitability. That is my motto. You've got the same one, and you do it in spades. We're such a great power team right now. It's incredible. So what's the first step? What do they need to do besides call me and say, Rhea, how do we get a hold of Brielle? Tell them how they can directly get a hold of you, what their first step should be before we close out.
So I am everywhere as Brielle Cotterman. It's briellecotterman.com. I think that's shown here on the screen. I'm Brielle Cotterman on Instagram. We've got a really incredible program that we offer a few times a year, complimentary trainings. If anybody's interested in that, they just go to my Instagram and DM me, media. That's the only word it needs to be in there, just that one word, and we'll make sure everything gets taken care of.
And Brielle, can they mention the Get Celebritized podcast for anything special from you?
You know what? We do a few times each year. We do a drawing for a complimentary media bio makeover. So if they do mention the Get Celebritized podcast, I would love to enter them into that drawing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Put them in a couple extra times.
Yeah.
A little extra proof there. I love that. But in case you're listening, this is a podcast. Brielle Cotterman is Brielle. Cotterman is Cotterman. It'll be in the notes. Can't miss it. Brielle, give the viewers and the listeners one last piece of advice. They're an entrepreneur and they're trying to gain their ideal clients. What is one thing they could do today on their own to be just a little bit more visible and get just a little bit more credibility today?
So thinking about your why. People don't buy products. They don't buy those things. They buy from other people. People care about your why. They care about why you're doing it. They care about your story. And so thinking about your why and being sure to figure out what is the story that conveys who I am and what I stand for.
Perfect, Brielle. And I hope everybody that really wants to gain some more notoriety will reach out to you because I love your profit. What was it called again? Your profit strategy?
Our profitable storytelling format.
Profitable storytelling format. I mean, that's the quote of the day. I hope you all so enjoyed my dear friend Brielle Cotterman with her agency, with her storytelling. Look her up on TEDx. We both have a TEDx. We're at the same event. It was so much fun. We will inspire you because we know our stories were meant to be told to inspire, to give hope. And that's what we're doing here today as well for you in your businesses to go out there, be brave, tell your story. Brielle, you're so brave. Thank you so much for being here today. It will not be the last time. We're going to do some things together for sure.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks so much for having me, my friend.
Thank you for being here. I hope you all listen up, share this one. This one is so priceless for everybody to get some hope and get some more notoriety out there so you can become the go-to celebrity in your niche. What are you waiting for? We're here to help you. So I hope you enjoyed this show and Get Celebritized. I'm Aurea, over and out for this time. Until next time, have a blessed day or evening wherever you are at this moment. Bye for now. Bye, Brielle. Thank you.
Bye-bye.